stages. It's going to happen in Vancouver, and it's going to be awesome. We've seen the space, and it's going to be a great time. So I hope to see you all there. And the staff members, as Jimmy was saying, we're from all over the place, even though sometimes we hear, oh, those people from New York are screwing up AA. We're not all from New York. And we're not screwing up AA, hopefully. I'm from New Jersey, proudly. But we also have, 2 staff members from Texas. We have a new staff member from Iowa. We've had people from Minnesota, all over the U.S., Connecticut, and some New Yorkers. And we're an eclectic bunch. There's our latest new staff member is actually a tenured college professor who is now going to work for GSO as a sort of a nice second career for her. People from all different backgrounds, scientists, marketing folks, even though we don't do marketing, it helps with communications, research, and there's all these sort of eclectic skills combined to hopefully help make, carry out the wishes of the conference. There we go. And so I just wanted to let you know that starting beginning of October, we opened back up for visits. We went a long time without being able to have tours because of the pandemic, and you could not believe the morale boost that everybody got from having our first people come back to the office. We were smothering them. It was like we had a guy from England. He couldn't get it was like every assignment was like, let me tell you what I do. I think it took an hour before the guy could get out. But we've reinstituted the Friday meeting at 11 a.m. And so every Friday, if you come tour the office, you can enjoy an AA meeting as well. But we're trying to make it Wednesdays through Fridays, but really anytime you want to come to see your office, we're really happy to see you. And again, such a morale booster. And this is Gratitude Month in November, traditionally for AA, where a lot of us show our gratitude to AA for helping us get sober and for the things that we have, and a lot of the speakers have talked about that. And so I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what your 7th tradition contributions make possible at our office. One is public service announcements, and really all of the PI things, public information things that we do, that are messages of hope to the suffering alcoholic. And I don't know, has anyone here seen a PSA? Yes, see? Probably around 2 in the morning when you were blasted, and or at least I think that there's an audience there, these PSAs are very well done, and as the statistics say, we've reached close to 600 million viewers and over 71,000 stations, and now they're available on the YouTube channel. Maybe some of you don't know that AA has a YouTube channel, so does Grapevine, and we're doing our best to sort of talk to the people that we haven't been reaching before. Another thing that happens because of your contributions through the office is corrections work. And in this particular case, we started hearing that a lot of correctional facilities were going paperless. It's just something that the correction world is doing now. And, we thought, well, how are we going to get our life-saving literature inside prisons if we can't send in books like we've always done? And so Grapevine led the way, and AAWS has worked on that as well. There are vendors who have tablets that have literature embedded in them. And we now have AA literature on over 200,000 tablets in jails and prisons. And the inmates don't pay for that. They can get it as part of their sort of educational opportunities. And many prison libraries also have access to our books, including audio books, which we've seen just recently. They are really popular for incarcerated folks. I think it may help bridge some of that gap with literacy, and it may make a big difference. We've just seen that people are really on fire with the audiobooks. And there's correction correspondence, which we've been doing for many years. We just updated the database so that we can match people more quickly. And this is a great form of service if you've ever wanted to do something like this. it's a way for us to, we get about 500 letters a month from people in custody, and we can match them with an AA member who can write to them, and, sometimes it turns into sponsorship, or it's just some experience, strength, and hope. And during COVID, this was sometimes the only thing that was keeping those incarcerated folks, sober and helping out, because nothing else could get inside. There were no meetings. There weren't any video meetings, unfortunately, although that's starting to take off as well. But if this is a form of service you've ever wanted to try, there's something on our website about it, and it really is amazing when you read, the heartfelt letters that you get and back and forth about being able to share what your experience is, and hear just how dedicated to sobriety some folks are who are in some really tough places to be able to stay sober. So that's for men and women, and it's a great way to do service. Accessibilities is always on our mind. We keep updating service material that has to do with most recently an accessibilities checklist for groups. Also, there are ASL versions of the Big Book and the 12 and 12 now available on the AA YouTube channel and on AA.org. So the first 164 pages of the Big Book are available for those who are deaf to be able to see the signed versions of them. And that was, again, a project that was, something that was funded by your contributions. And for members with vision loss, we also have audio versions of the entire Big Book and the 12 and 12 available for free on AA.org. Another thing is there's a sort of a pricing policy where if you print the Big Book in Braille, it's like a box full of paper. It's huge. That costs the same amount as the regular Big Book, like this, $8.95 basically. And that's because you make that possible for us to be able to do that, so that it's accessible to everyone at the same price. We're doing the Young People's Video Project, and we've done it in years past, so this is the new version of it. Basically, we really want more video content for the YouTube channel and for our website. And these stories, these videos made by young people for young people, there are about half a dozen on the website now, and it's really easy to through this new portal that we developed for people to submit the stories. It takes some skill because they're anonymity protected, but hopefully, I'm talking to somebody out there who wants to make a video, and whether you're young or just young at heart, we would really love to see it. Again, very easy through this portal. We also just accepted 5th edition Big Book stories for the new edition of the Big Book, and again, tried to make it very easy for people to submit. We got, for 2000, for the 4th edition, there were about 1,100 Big Book stories that were submitted by members for that last, story section, to update it so that when a new alcoholic is, reading the Big Book, there are stories in there that they can relate to from our time, as well as, the timeless stories of our pioneers. So, we just finished, sort of closed that down. I know there are over 1,000 stories, and that's going to make for a great opportunity for us to pick great stories. And there are also AA pamphlets, like the AA pamphlet for the African American, where we're picking stories for that. And, we just want to keep sort of making it easy for people to submit. Regional forums are a great, informative, fun weekend that we put on. We do 4 a year in different regions of the country. The Northeast will have one in Boston next year. We also did something sort of new in the last couple of years, North-South Connections Forum. And what we found was there are people in northern Canada, the Yukon, and Inuits, and other folks who have experience with remote communities. They've been staying sober they were using online meetings before the rest of us got onto it, and they have a lot of experience that actually we found they could share with those in South America, in Argentina and Chile, because there were many of the same challenges that they were facing, and this North-South forum was a chance for these two groups of people to talk to each other and share ideas. So there were speakers from both ends of the world, basically. Speakers from Antarctica and Chile and the Andes. And I just have to tell you this one story about this guy, Enrique, who was one of the speakers. And he was from the Andes, from some northern Argentina. They got a call for help from an alcoholic who was in the high Andes, which is a good trip away. Basically 6 hours on a bus ride, and not like a nice little bus that's smooth and everything. It's like your bumpy bus ride across roads that are barely, passable. And so this group of Enrique put together 6 people to be able to go 6 hours on the bus to this remote village to support this guy and help him get sober. And it went down to 4 people because 2 got altitude sickness. This was no easy trip. But those 4 people continued to make that trip for 3 years, almost every weekend, staying the whole weekend. And when I heard Enrique tell this story at this North-South Forum, I was so moved, and so was everyone else, just to think of the lengths that they went to support the alcoholic. Now there are regular meetings going on in that village. There are people getting sober, and I just love that story. We've been dealing with paper shortages and supply chain problems caused to the whole printing industry around the world. But because we depend so much on our literature, we hate when there are shortages or when we run out of books. I mean, that's just something we do not want to happen. So one of the non-alcoholic members that works at our office, and there are about 2/3 of the staff are non-alcoholic members, but they are so down with our mission. They love AA. And we have a 1728 meeting where we talk about concepts, traditions, and steps every Friday. And they are so into it. They just love hearing about AA. So one of them, who's in the publishing department, we realized that we were not going to be able to print the book jackets for the big book and the 12 and 12. And that was going to hold up production of this literature for months. And so he figured out a way to do a jacketless printing, where we can actually print this right on the book itself, so there's no book jacket anymore. Now they'll, have a jacketless 12 and 12 and big book. They're going to be coming out in December, and not only was it a way to solve our distribution problems, it's also going to actually save AA some money. And I know I'm going to run out and get like the first edition jacketless book. I don't know if there are any other nerds in the audience, but it just seems so cool to me, and I just love that, this innovation happened. Many of you are hopefully familiar with the Meeting Guide app. This is something fairly recent, like the way we used to find meetings just even 5 years ago. Totally different now. 500,000 monthly users with Meeting app, and it's really transformed how people find meetings. And the app continues to be upgraded. They continue to do research to make it, to optimize the function of it. And again, that's something that happened because of you. Each month, staff members, reply to thousands of emails and letters and phone calls, and we always love to hear from the fellowship. Also, another thing members' contributions made possible was the redesign of our website, and that happened. It was launched in December of 2020, so it hasn't even been a year yet. But visits to the site have doubled. We're reaching about 5 million people per quarter for site visits. I mean, that's a lot of people to be able to carry the message to. And it's now more mobile-friendly than ever, and 80% of the people who visit the site are on mobile devices. And it makes it much easier for professionals to find information and for family members to find information, and AA members who want to find something out about service, much easier to find things like that out, and most importantly for the alcoholic who's still suffering. And again, this is a picture of our archives. If you haven't ever been there, they were able to get a new scanner, and because of that, they were able to scan 10,000 pages of Bill W.'s correspondence and other documents important to our history. And again, that is the way we remember, where we came from, and it guides us for the future. So, having that archives, going on a visit there and, when I first started working there, I saw this picture. I had heard that my sponsor was this guy named Peter, who was from Great Britain, and his sponsor was a guy named Paul, and he was sponsored by a guy named Travis, and Travis was sponsored by the guy who helped start AA in Ireland, whose story was in the big book, and he was sponsored by Bill W. So I sort of thought that was kind of cool when he laid all that out for me. So I go into the archives. There is a picture of Travis and that other guy with the Pope getting, I had no idea this picture existed. It's like my forebears. There they are. So, head to the archives and, you may get pleasantly surprised. And again, the way we stay in touch with professionals is changing. We have a LinkedIn page, and if you are on LinkedIn and you want to check it out, it's a great way for us to reach professionals in a new way. And also, we actually found 3 great employees through our LinkedIn page recently. So it's kind of a nice way for us to find new folks for the office. And I'll just tell you one more story related to the CPC thing. When I first started on CPC a few years ago, my father came into AA in 1974, and he was kind of forced in by this doctor who was kind of a employee assistance guy at the time at GM in New York. And my father hated this guy. I remember he came home drunk and was like, they're going to fire me if I don't go to this stupid treatment, and I hate this guy. He would say his name over and over, I hate this guy. And it was the only thing that was going to get him into AA. And because my father got forced into AA, and it took, it changed the whole aspect of my family, because we were kind of lost. We were in big trouble. My sister, me, we were headed down the same path. And we got to see him stay sober for 8 years before he died. And there were a couple of, there was about a year where I started going to meetings, and he and I got to go to meetings together. And it was a really nice way for me to let him know that I was going to be okay. And John Q often says, how did you get to AA? And I know I got here because professionals, some CPC committee talked to this professional doctor, who then talked to, the people at the treatment center. They set up AA meetings, and they helped my father get sober, which helped me get sober. So I'm new on CPC, and they tell me, there are these doctor groups where they talk to young medical students, and they tell them a little bit about AA. And there's one in New York you should go to. And here's the name of the guy who runs it. It was the guy who forced my father into AA. I couldn't believe it. He's 85 years old, and he's still doing this. I mean, you gotta love this guy. And so I wrote him a letter, and I said, I'm coming to the doctor's training that you're doing, and I don't know if you remember my father. Well, our last name, as you could see, is Wine, W-I-N-E. So probably easy to remember. Oh, yeah. And he did remember my father. He said, yeah, your father, it was a little tough at first, but he was really into it, and he started to do some work at his place where he got more people sober. And I just loved hearing that. And he helped me connect with my dad in another way, and he said, your father was a good AA member. So that's just one of the many benefits that I've been gifted with because I get to work at this office. And again, that's because of you guys. So thank you so much for listening and for your time.
Thanks, Jeff. Hi, everybody. My name is Cynthia, and I'm an alcoholic.
And I'm Sydney, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, you know what? With these 2 big books were signed by almost everybody in this room. We never really tell them why we give them away. Why do we give them away?
Because it's a beautiful thing, and it's our 12 steps.
Oh, we just heard. They could be antiques. These could be the last hardcover big books ever printed.
It's very possible.
He wasn't paying attention, Jeff. I'm sorry. So we heard some amazing speakers so far over the weekend. Unfortunately, because of my ADD is really progressing, I only heard the last speaker this evening, Don, and the message that I heard was when you come into AA, I think we're promised some things like relationships and prestige, and I think richness. And so I went across to 7-Eleven and bought some Powerball tickets, and then I came back and my sponsor told me that I am powerless over Powerball, so like this is so no fun. I don't know. What do you think?
What I think is we have to get down to the countdown. But this time, we want to have some depth and weight to it. So when we call your year or your day, you're going to stand up, but you're also going to shout out the most heinous thing on your fourth step.